I I had been sober several times before I came to the healing place. So it was quite, um, it was a challenge for me to even walk back into the doors of, a 12-step program, much less the healing place. But finally, I feel like I had been beat into a state of reasonableness again. It was a very humbling process because I was at such a point of desperation because my family was suffering so much and they didn't know how to help me anymore. Um, even my support group and the 12-step program I attend was so baffled, and they were so scared, and they were so worried that nobody felt like they could help me anymore. So I felt so alone. I felt like I had nowhere to turn. I've never felt so alone in my life, and like I said, I had been sober for quite some time before, and so what started it for me on my relapse was I had my last baby, and there were complications after I had him, and so I was re-hospitalized and administered narcotics. And I thought that I was in a position that I could handle that, and obviously I couldn't. I started taking the prescriptions not as prescribed when I got home from the hospital, and there was so much shame, guilt, and remorse that it was hard to share that with people because I was sponsoring people. I had been clean for 8 years, and it was very shameful. I couldn't believe I had done it, So I had kept that a secret, and it took me 2 years to walk in the doors of the Women's Healing Place. It eventually led me back to using again, and which I was trying to keep secret too, which was just a horrible cycle of lies, guilt, shame, remorse, and so when everyone had it with me, and thank God they did, because I didn't know what else to do, and the healing place was really the last place on the block. And I came here, and I actually called on the phone to do a pre-screen, and the woman that answered the phone told me to come on home, and that was a huge relief, because everybody else was shaking their finger at me. How could you have done this again? And I didn't know the answer. And so to hear come on home, I knew this was the place to come. And I came, and I stayed, and I changed. These women that I went through the program with carried me back into the rooms because I couldn't even hold my head up. I was so ashamed about what had happened. And to keep doing the next right thing, not knowing what the outcome was going to be. Because my husband was angry with me, my parents were angry with me, my support group was angry with me. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I was kind of sitting here in limbo, going to these classes, just believing that if I, that the healing place believed in me enough to take me back, that possibly there was some hope. And so I stayed, and I kept staying, and I trudged, and my life just kept getting better. And I'm so grateful that I stayed, because I wanted to leave, I wanted to leave so many times, and I just relied on my higher power, and I just had this innate just possibility that if I kept doing the next thing to the best of my ability, that everything was going to be okay. So that's what I did. I just kept doing the next thing to the best of my ability, and things just worked out. Since the healing place helps us through the process, and my sponsor did too, Working Steps, I had made some amends, so things were better. I wouldn't say they were perfect, but they were definitely better. And I was, when I completed the healing place, I moved back home. And I also decided if I was moving back home that it would be a good idea to go into the peer mentor's office and to give back like the women had done before me. And I'm really grateful that I made that choice, because transition can be hard, and I had been protected by this bubble for so long, and I go back home, and it was kind of odd because I hadn't been there in about 6 months, and everyone had their own routines, and they were surviving just fine without me. And I came home and I started doing things the way that I used to do them, and I noticed that it was just very humbling to see that my family had been okay and thriving without me, although they missed me very much. So I needed the support of the peer mentor's office and the women in the program to help me walk through that, because I felt kind of awkward. I felt kind of like a fish out of water. And again, the healing place was there to help me build my confidence, to build my self-esteem, to most of the things that I was facing were fears. They weren't real. And the program helped me deal with that and hold my head high, and to give back to the women here. I feel like self-esteem comes from self-esteemable acts. So by going into the peer mentor's office and giving back, I was in fact receiving so much more in return, and it gave me the strength I needed to make that transition possible. And it was just so neat to go back home again. And I realized that when I had relapsed, like all my blessings had become burdens. Just simple things like going to the grocery store, giving my children a bath, bedtime routine, cooking dinner, washing, just the normal stuff that people do every day. All those blessings became burdens. So something was wrong. But when I came back home, all my burdens had become blessings again. I was so grateful to give the babies a bath, to read them a book before they went to bed, to be there. The first morning when I woke up, they were when I had come back home, they were so excited that I was home, that I was there, because usually we'd put them to bed and my husband would bring me back here by curfew, and they'd wake up and I wasn't there. So when I was home for the first time in the morning, they just ran and tackled me, and I had this extreme amount of gratitude. And I knew something had changed, because when I had been at home before, I did not feel that way. I was overburdened, was overstressed, because I wasn't working a program anymore. And when you don't work a program anymore and you try to live life on life, you're going to use again, And so now I was working a program, and everything all of a sudden was blessing. So, my husband had told me in detox, he said, I'm not sure what's going to happen, because he's very angry. And my mom and dad were suffering so much. My children were suffering. And today, I feel like everything's changed. That our relationship has a new spark, a new energy, and a new understanding. I feel like my husband was really scared, and he felt very alone, and wasn't sure what was going to happen, because he's pretty, he's also in a 12-step program, so I think he was really scared. And he knows what happens, often when people use again. So now there's this confidence in me. I can see again. He says, "Wow, I have the old Kim back." And I heard him on the phone with our friends, and he goes, "She's back." And he was very excited about that, because I feel like not only I had lost that for myself, but he had lost that too. And to see that spark in me again, I think gives him hope, and has also motivated his own recovery. And our relationship is wonderful. My mom and dad, are finally trusting that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do again, because the healing place has taught me to do it. That we do what we say we're going to do, and we show up when we say we're going to show up. And that took some time. And that was hard too, because I had been at a place where they had trusted me again. So to lose that trust was hard to build back. And I feel like just now that I'm starting to gain that trust with my parents again, and with my 13-year-old. It was harder to rebuild it with her than with the babies. They were kind of easy. But with my 13-year-old, she had seen me sober for so long that she wasn't sure what was going to happen. So I'm starting to feel that trust and see that trust in their eyes again, and it feels really good. I've had a lot of experience in my lifetime with Child Protective Services, personally and on the other side professionally. So it's been a unique experience to be able to help women at the healing place in this position. It almost feels like I'm not working, that I'm just doing what comes naturally, and that feels really good. It almost feels as if this was what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe this was in the plan the whole time, I'm not sure, because I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be at this moment in time. And it's very busy around here. We have a lot of women and men that need help with reunification, maybe just someone to listen to them, what's going on. They need an advocate often, and it feels really good to be able to be that advocate for them, and to help maybe believe in them when they can't believe in themselves, because somebody did that for me when I was in detox. I really didn't believe in myself, and the healing place believed in me. And so now I get to do that, for others.